things, hydrogenated sucrose, fructose, corn syrup, and you name it, they put in the food. And those are all high caloric, and it's all garbage. It ruins the body. It's where all the diseases come from. Again, I have lists here of all the ingredients in the food, but I also have lists here of all the diseases. Amazing amount of diseases, the diabetes and heart disease. But the amazing thing is, and even the science community today, the doctors don't realize the healing power of food. It's really amazing. They find now when people eat like greens and the kale, power of kale and all of these things. And hey, Popeye was right after all those years of spinach, but it's really, really true. All the research and my own self. Okay, I'll speak about myself. I was on 10 to 15 medications. I had type 2 diabetes. I had all of these things. I had heart condition. I had all of those. I'm on 10 to 15 medications, off all of them now. And this is years ago. And I'm not a young guy yet. And yet it's off all of them. The healing power of food's amazing, but the destructive power of food is totally amazing too, what it could do to you. And today, can you imagine all of these foods we eat with all of this synthetic and poisons in them? What I was saying was, like, the faith we have is of what the corporations tell us. So just like we agnostics, they were telling people you had faith all the time, so you could change your faith into God's gift of the food. Change your faith, your thinking. Meditation on this. We're meditating on what the corporations tell us and all that craziness with the food. And the answer to all our problems is our higher power becomes the food. You want to get out of this situation right now? Listen. You want to have that spiritual awakening, look at the water. Think differently. Even this week, this alone, you know how many calories a week people drink? Some of these drinks would be 1,200 calories. Also a salad, you go to a restaurant. Look, the restaurant's the worst place in the world. You go to a restaurant, a salad could be 200 calories. But if you look on the thing, some of these places it's 1,200 calories. They're what they put in it. They're all the craziness. And you don't need that because you were brainwashed. People told you needed that, just like people told you how to be successful, need a lot of money to be happy. Where's that getting people? People are billionaires kill themselves, right? They can't, it's because it's not the solution. The answer in all power and happiness is, we learn in the steps here. It's here. It's God. We're creating God's image. Our body, don't forget, is God's temple. The revolutionary change, the only way out of this situation is a perception change. Everything, though, is geared. Look, all the people with the diet programs and everything, it's all geared to trying to resist it, making it more powerful. When you resist something, you make it more powerful. When you get God-centered, you'll intuitively know. Right, we're going to read the 10-step promises. We'll be in a position of neutrality, safe and protected, not even have to swear it off. Right? It just comes normally. Not fighting anything or anyone. So the corporations trying to tell us how to resolve this food addiction. Again, but we have to realize, because we were brainwashed by the corporations, rewash your brains out, right? AA, attitude adjustment, right? Hey, people talk about therapy. Some guy told me, I went to a professional once and I talked to him and he says, AA is the best form of cognitive behavioral therapy. Realizing the truth from the false. This is all false gods that the siren songs on TV and the internet. When you have that perception change and you realize that with even this here, God's gift is the water. It comes to you. Sometimes slowly, sometimes people have this revolution change all of a sudden. But the other problem is, and it's interesting, like I said, when I go into AA, OA meetings, you're either in the problem or solution. Here we have the 12 steps. It's always in the front of the room. But I'm talking about, and step 1 said we're powerless. Alcohol with AA, food with OA. These were in front of the room. But guess what? I didn't even pay attention. The first 2 years, I'd come and talk about my problems, try to resist them and say this happened, that happened. But what I realized was I'm making it more real. The same with the food. When we're on a diet, we're saying this food is so overwhelming and so powerful. Not seeing the truth. The truth will set you free. The truth is it's all garbage. It's all poison. But we took it upon ourselves to listen what the people on the TV and the internet and wherever advertisement told us. And then we incorporate, and they also put, it's like cocaine or heroin. Would you listen to the cocaine dealer, the heroin dealer on the corner? They lace it now with what, fentanyl? Do you realize this food is laced with all of these things? They have scientists and psychologists, these corporations trying to figure out what they could put to change the hypothalamus. I talked about the epicenter in the brain, epistat it's called. Do you realize our body was created perfectly? We have the perfect thermostat in our body. Do you realize when we get centered, it's only when we're in self-centered fear and we tighten up our stomach and say, I got to resist that it becomes more stronger. But when we get centered, then things come to us. All of a sudden, it opens up and we started to realize, we'll intuitively know. We'll say, you don't want to make your food a higher power. You'll feel your stomach in its fullness. You'll even want that lean, healthy feeling. Why in a lot of philosophy and religions, they actually fast. And they enjoy because they realize food is another material thing. It's a gluttonous thing like gluttony, right? 7 deadly sins. So started to realize that we can have that perception change. Why not think of yourself as being lean and clean inside, having that empty feeling, that and fill yourself with spiritual bread with the things around you. Realizing the addiction is taking you away with any addiction. If you're thinking about money as your addiction or success, same thing, you're becoming finite and isolated. You could become infinite and enjoy God's universe and everything around you. It's really, the mind is like a battlefield. It's called the battlefield of your mind. You ever hear they talk about that? Because it's all the perception. It's all up here. It's not in maybe taking your weighing and resisting things or arguing with people, telling them you're right or whatever it is in life or getting more money. It's all about the perception. I talk about the man because we look for our perception is to get the momentary pleasures, the low-hanging fruit with the food or any other addiction. The momentary pleasures. On the other side is just as much pain because when we don't have it, we need more and we get more and more aggravated and ridiculous. So as we go through life, understanding this perception, having had that spiritual awakening, we could have it right now at the meeting here. When we start to realize all these things we're thinking are false. I told you about that. I went to see that Hasidic rabbi. He was into the Kabbalah, and he said to me, go out and enjoy the world, he said to me. He said, go out and enjoy the world, but realize the falseness of it. It's momentary pleasure. I talk about the man who climbed Mount Everest. He spent years and all this money to get to the top of Mount Everest, and he maimed himself. He got frostbite. Finally got on the top. He had what was called momentary pleasure. He had a few moments of pleasure, right? And then when he got home, he read on the internet some other guy climbed it 7 times, so there's 7 other mountain peaks in the world. He was miserable. He had to go do it all over again. And I told you, I heard that was from a guy. I went to a meditation meeting. The guy said he could sit on his couch and be just as happy as the man who climbed Mount Everest. But not only that, his happiness and joy and bliss is lasting. It doesn't go away. In this meeting, we work these steps. Some people say they come into meetings. You ever hear that? The pink cloud. They say, oh, you get a pink cloud, it's going to go away soon. Yeah, if you come in, you start making friends and you have some hope, you start to feel better. But when you get the spiritual angle, when you get into the spirituality, it only gets better. It says in here. And Bill's story on page 8, he talks about getting better as time passes. It can only get better. It's a spiritual muscle. When you go to the gym, you work the physical muscle, right? We work the spiritual muscle. And you know what they say, too? The 100-pound weakling man, they always talk about that story, became a Mr. America because he really worked out. So even if you're down and you always feel you're anxious, you're depressed, or whatever it is, you can work the spiritual muscle and become a Mr. or Mrs. America of happiness and joy